welcome back to another video. So this is our 11th video of the complete JS Mastery series, and in this video we will be talking about let versus var versus const and call apply bind. So these are three popular methods that can be called on an function to pass this object to it so that it can be called on that particular object without actually having that function. So we will take a look at these methods and then we will implement the polyfills. Polyfills means that our own implementation of these methods, instead of just using them natively, we can just use our own implementation for these. We will see this implementation for these, and we will also see the difference between let, var and const. So firstly we will talk about the difference between let, var and const. So how do you declare a variable? You can declare it using three keywords, like you can use either of the three, let and var and const. So what's the main difference here? So variable declaration can happen in three ways. Alright, so first one is using let, second one is using var, and third one is using const. So what's the difference here? Right, so the difference actually comes up in when, so it has a something called as tdz. That means when you declare the variable using let, the upper code, the context above the declaration is known as tdz, temporal dead zone. So in that you cannot access the variable, you will get an undefined error. It cannot be redeclared, cannot be redeclared. Can be reassigned. Right, so if we see it like this, let.js, so let me define a variable using let x equal to 10. So the area above the declaration of the variable is known as tdz, and you cannot access it here. You will get a reference error saying that I cannot access x before initialization, because it is hoisted inside the script scope. It is not hoisted inside the global scope. tdz means temporal dead zone it is hoisted inside the script scope. So if I copy paste it in the browser about blank, cannot access x before initialization, right? So if I let me do one thing, index.html, then I can inject my script like this, let.js, and if I open it with live server and go to source and put a debugger over here, see, it is hoisted inside the script scope, not the global scope. If you initialize a variable using let or const, it is hoisted inside the script scope, and if you declare a variable using var, then it is hoisted inside the global scope. If you see inside the global, you will see a y. See, y is there. So it is hoisted inside the global scope. The variables declared using var are hoisted inside the global scope. It is hoisted inside the global or function scope. depending on the declaration. If it is written inside the global script, then it is hoisted inside global scope. Otherwise, it will be hoisted inside the function scope if it is written inside a function. Now, what you cannot do with let is, you cannot do something like this. Let x equal to 20. It will throw an error saying that we cannot declare global scope variable x, right? So this was statement number 1. This was statement number 2. Cannot be declared, right? This is statement number 3. Now the other thing is with const variable. Now if we talk about const, then it's the same thing. It's just that it cannot be declared and it cannot be reassigned. What do you mean by assignment? You cannot do something like this, change the variable name to, like, if it will throw an error saying that cannot, it will, if I declare it is using const, then it will throw an error saying that assignment to a constant variable is not possible, type error, right? So that's the difference. So var can hoisted inside global scope can be DECLA. Cannot be redeclared. Can be redeclared. Can be reassigned. Const is hoisted inside TDZ and cannot be redeclared. Cannot be reassigned. So that's the difference between these three keywords, let, var and const, right? Now if we talk about var, there is no concept of TDZ here. It is hoisted inside the global or function scope, can be redeclared, var can be reassigned. Cannot be redeclared and cannot be reassigned, right? So that's the case for let, var and const. So we have seen the difference between these. Now let versus var versus const. Now, right, we have seen the difference between these. Now we will talk about call, apply, bind. Call, apply, bind. Firstly, we will talk about call. So suppose you have an object like this, name, let's say it as first name John and last name as Doe. Age is 22 and it has a something some function named as full name, right? And suppose we are creating another object, let obj2 equal to first name is Alice Smith, and it doesn't have a function full name. Right. So what we can do is we can console.log obj.first name. We can also call the function on obj2.full name like this. So if we try to run the code, obj, sorry, it will say John Doe, right? Because the function is defined inside the obj. But there is no way to access full name inside obj2 because we haven't defined any function named full name inside obj2 dot full name. So you will get an error like we have seen before. Full name is not a function, saying because it doesn't have any property called as full name, right? So we will get an error in this case. So what if we want to borrow a function from another object inside a new object which doesn't have that function? So in that scenario, there comes the picture. In that picture, there comes a method called as call. So you can borrow a function using call. So what you can do is you can write something like obj dot full name dot call, and you define this argument. On which object do you want me to call this function on? So we want to call it on object 2, right? If we try to hold the result like this, then we can do so. And if I comment out other lines, now if we try to run the code, it will work just fine. What happened is it temporarily embedded this function inside obj2 and called it and then removed it immediately. So we will see it in the polyfill when we will be implementing the polyfill. Then you will see a clear picture of how it is actually working. So what you will do is you will basically write the function name, and you will write dot call, and you define the object on which it is going to be called. So if you write it outside this function, outside the object function full name, then you can call like this obj function name and then dot call, right? So you will see this will point to obj, the object on which it is passed. So instead of writing this like this, so I will pass a age over here. So you can see it in the params, right? You can also pass some in the params as well. So what I'm talking about is you can call this function on this obj object, and you can also pass the parameters like this 30. So it will hit age 30 and it will print out basically you can comment out this line and can remove this result variable also. So my name is John Doe and I am 30 years old. So right, so this is how you use a function. You can borrow a function, right? Gene Smith, and you can pass on multiple params here, right? Extra argument, right? So you can call it like this. So it has a syntax like this: dot call this arg and then parameters fn dot call. Now if we will be seeing how you can write the apply, how can you use apply. Apply simply has this difference that the parameters that it will be taking in form of an array. So it will not take the arguments in line argument. It will take array as an argument. So you can say array, and array of 0 will represent our age, and it will work like this. Okay, dot apply obj. I think I missed something. Thirty 20 10. It let me go to MD and docs. Okay, now it is working fine. So you will spread the parameters in the arguments. Then you can say array of 0 as my first name, age. Right, so that the difference is you can call it only on the array. Arguments will be passed as an array, and then you can spread them and you can utilize that array. Right, so that's the difference between call and apply. Then there is one more method known as bind. Bind will return a function on which and it will take the arguments like this. Then you can also call the binded function like this. Right, so what happens is dot bind returns a function, then you are passing this as an argument, so it will take up the age as 30, ignore the other two arguments, this one and this 35. It will ignore the other two arguments because it is only taking up only one single parameter. So right, it will return a bind will return a function on which you can call it, then you can call the function and it will work just fine. It is similar to call, but the catch is it is going to return a function that we can call. Now we will be talking about the polyfills of these methods. So I will create a new folder called polyfills. First one is call.js. So these call, apply and bind are present inside something called as function. So if I write console.dir function, so function is having proto __proto, which is having apply, bind and call. So this is coming from function. So what we can do is we can override these like this: function dot prototype dot call equal to, it will be a function. And how this is working is basically it will accept an argument, an object, and arguments, right? So basically it will accept the arguments like this. Now what we can do is on now what we can do is the function will this function can be accessed via this keyword, and we have to basically make declare a virtual function inside this object, the object which is being passed. So obj dot temp fn equal to this. So it will create a temp function named temp fn key inside our obj, and it will refer to this function, full name function. Then we can invoke this, call this function like obj dot temp fn and pass in arguments. Then we can delete it, obj dot temp fn, right? So if you try to hit run, obj.temp fn, why this is not working? Yeah, so basically spread the arguments that are being passed, then call the function on the again spreading the arguments, right? Then we can delete it and it will work just fine, right? So we are getting the expected output. So this is how you can implement the call polyfill. Let us talk about apply now. The only difference is between call and apply is that the parameters in apply are passed as an array. So function dot prototype dot apply equal to function, it will be passed obj and an array. Then we can do obj dot temp fn equal to this, obj dot temp fn. Then we can spread those array arguments, right? arr delete obj dot temp fn, right? So here we are not spreading the argument, we are taking the entire array as it is. Then when we are calling the function, then we are spreading the arguments, right? So that's the difference between call and apply polyfill. Now we will talk about bind. Bind returns a function. So we need to return something from the prototype of this function dot prototype dot bind equal to function this basically obj and args1. Basically we will be returning a function and we will be passing args to, we can pass the arguments on any scenario, right? So basically you will be getting So this function will refer to let temp equal to this, obj dot call temp dot call obj args1 and args2. So here this will refer to the full name, and we are calling full, we are making on the returning the function, we are here we are calling temp dot call it on obj the reference which is passed, and all the on the arguments that are being passed. So here you will get the desired output. So right. Right, so we have covered most of the things today, and in the next video we will be talking about ES6 classes and inheritance, and then we will be jumping on to making projects. I will do a poll for which projects do you want me to work on, whether it is front end projects or back end projects you want me to start with using JavaScript. Right, so that we will be covering in the after the next video. Right, so we have covered a lot today. We have covered let, var and const difference. We have completed the polyfills for call, apply and bind, and understood what does these methods do, and basically they are used for function borrowing and function currying. Right, so that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you.